Welcome to the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside lovely and warm Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, the land of pleasant living, home of the Baltimore Orioles and its number one fan, John Webster. John, how you doing today?
Hey, Gary, I'm doing real good, man. I hope everybody's doing well. Another exciting week in sports. A lot of good stuff going on. Uh, our buddy ain't with us tonight, but we still always want to say hi to John Pitt. I know taking care of business with wherever he is right now. But
Yeah.
man, let's look at the stuff we got going on, man. Let's start with baseball, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
The Orioles. They have started the second half of the season in a perpetual nosedive. I am saying this right now. They are straight up sellers, no buyers, straight up sellers at the trade deadline. They have a number of expiring contracts. They need to look at getting those players gone and maybe getting some things back. Now, keep in mind, Gary, I'm not saying blow the team up. Still want to compete next year. But for this season, straight sellers, man. They one night it's no starting pitching. Then another night it's no relief pitching. Then another night it's no hitting. They
Mm-hmm.
can't get all on the same page at the same time. It's a rough season. I still go back to say what I've said the whole time. A lot of this is tied to the injuries which they've had. A number of devastating injuries.
John, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. It's with the Orioles, yeah, you really do have to start. I mean, with the trade deadline coming up, you have to start thinking about next season. I mean, of course, there's plenty of time to try to finish respectably, and by that, I mean for the Orioles, maybe try to finish within about 4 or 5 games of 500. They're only 14 and a half games out. And when I say only, I mean, I really qualify that. Um, but right now, I think for them, salvaging the season means trying to get as close to 500 as they can because they're only 11 games under right now. And the thing with the Orioles is that this swoon that they started off the second half with could easily become a streak just because of how baseball is and because we saw it with the Orioles after that horrid start, where I think they were playing better than 500 ball and as bad as it's been, they're still. I'm not going to say that they're hard to watch, unlike the team down the Parkway in Washington, which it's just hard to watch. And all I'm going to say about them is that they are definitely going to be sellers, and I think it's going to be a lot of the older guys because the guys that they've gotten in trades. I think that there's a lot of potential there. I mean, we see the potential with some of the young guys, and including a couple of their all stars. But moving back up to Baltimore, I do think you're right. They're going to be sellers. But John, when you and I exchanged texts a couple of weeks ago about who stays and who goes, I think that list is still very pertinent, but you have to make sure you don't quote unquote throw the baby out with the bathwater because it's very tempting at this point to think about that. And I think this roster still has potential. And I want them to keep enough of the core together for whoever takes over as manager. And we could even, speculate about who might be a good candidate. I've got one in mind. You probably won't like it, but when we get to that point, I'll throw it at you and see
You
see where
can't
it
do a
lands.
tease. You can't do a tease like that. Who are you thinking of, Gary?
Willie Randolph.
For selfish reasons, I will say no because that. Oh,
Yeah.
Almost hit myself in the face with a rubber band messing with you, Gary. Willie Randolph, Willie Randolph is a Hall of Fame ball player. He got
Hall of very good. Hall of the very good.
well.
Borderline Hall of Fame.
I think I think he should be in there. That's just me. And I think when he managed the Mets, he didn't get the benefit of the doubt. That's just me. I
Mm-hmm.
think Willie Randolph deserves another chance in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
However, he does not deserve a chance to manage the Baltimore Orioles. That's a Yankee. I'm sorry. I draw the line.
Well, remember, didn't you have Showalter and you see what he did with them? Hmm?
Buck Buck I look at as different because he has been to many different places and done well. We have been down this path with a Yankee manager before. I can't even remember the guy's name. He was so bad. He was absolutely terrible. Um, no, there are only two names for me that I want to hear as a manager. There's only two names: Bob Melvin, and make sure you have a back on your chair when I say the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Dusty Baker. Those are the only two names I want to hear. I know neither one of them is going to happen. I know they're looking at Ryan Flaherty or maybe Buck Britton or some others in the Orioles system. Those guys would do a very good job. I have nothing against them. But I think what you need with this team, you need an established manager. You need somebody who can get them over the hump now. You got some players like Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rushman, Kobe Mayo. They need to hear a different style of leadership. And I think Bob Melvin, he's proven it over and over again with the Oakland A's. Now he's proven it with the San Francisco Giants. He'll get the job done. Bob Melvin has been in many small markets, Gary, and been successful. I consider Baltimore a small market, and you have to have a type of mentality to be able to make it work with the dollars that you have. This isn't the Yankees. This isn't the Red Sox. This is a small market, and you're not going to be able to do everything they do. So you have to make it work through your farm system and some very keen acquisitions. Dusty Baker, you and I have talked many times. You know I love Dusty. And
Me too. Me
you
too.
look at Dusty's career. He won with the Chicago Cubs. He won with the San Francisco Giants. He won with the Cincinnati Reds. Heck, he won with the Washington Nationals. He's won with the Houston Astros. Show me somewhere he didn't win. As a player, he won at Atlanta. He won with the Dodgers. He's that's I know the man is about 85 or 90 years old. I realize that.
Yeah.
But um, um,
You are preaching to the choir on that, John. I agree with you, and actually I like it. I think I think for him maybe 1 or 2 years to kind of maybe rebuild a franchise, or try to get them to that next level. I don't think the Orioles are an organization that needs rebuilding. I think they need to get back to where they were 2, 3 years ago, where they were going to the playoffs, winning the division. And we're not talking about that long ago. Again, I think you have to, if you're going to bring in a Dusty Baker or a Bob Melvin, you have to give them something to work with. You have to give them a nucleus, and Henderson and Rushman, as you alluded to. I think those are good starting points. Mullins. See, the thing is about Mullins, I don't want them to get rid of. I want Mullins to be there because I see a lot of Paul Blair in him. A
yeah,
lot
but
of
they're
Paul
not going
Blair.
to keep him. I want them to keep him. Houston really wants him bad, and I think they're
Yeah.
going to let him go because he has an expiring contract. Now, this is me, Gary. If I'm a general manager for the Orioles, I'm looking at one thing. I like my everyday players. I like Westburg. I'm going to come back to that in a second and you've heard what I think about that as well. But I like Westburg. I like Henderson. I like Holiday. If it's me, I'm putting Kobe Mayo at first base. I got to find out what he can do.
Mhm.
Um, Rushman at catcher, but I'm going to come back to that in a second. In the outfield, I like Cowser. I like Mullins. I like Lariano. I like my closer in Batista. If I'm the general manager, I'm going to Rubenstein and I'm telling him, I need you to set aside $300 million. I need a starting pitcher. I need a starting pitcher. That's what I'm going to say. And Gary, I've said this to you before. I'll say it to you now on the air of the Daily Deuce. In life, sometimes the only way you can get something if you're willing to give something up.
Yeah, yeah, I
Camden
agree.
Yards, hear me out. Camden Yards is a perfect pitcher's. Not perfect. Let me rephrase that. Camden Yards needs a strong, quality left-handed pitcher
Yeah,
because the left-handed pitcher will be pitching the right-handers, and the ball will be going into left field, and you've moved that out again, or you've moved it in, out. I don't know. Wherever you've done, you've
well,
moved it
yeah,
somewhere.
they keep, yeah, they do it. Seems like every other year, either in or out,
Yeah.
depending on where the strength is in their lineup. Well,
So
a lot of teams do that.
with that being said, I have always had a man crush for Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, you after what I saw Sunday against the Milwaukee Brewers,
He
you know
was
that.
upset. Gary, he was upset.
Oh yeah,
He let the emotions get the best of him. It wasn't him, but I'm
yeah, I
telling
know.
you,
Yeah, it was his
I'm,
defense. Yeah, but
I'm telling you,
and in his defense, the Brewers are a damn good team. They really
they are.
they
They
are a
are
damn
very
good team.
good. The Cubs are very good over there too, but I think the Dodgers are going through a slump right now. They've lost 10 out of 12, something crazy, but they're still the best team, in my opinion, in the National League. It'll be proven in the playoffs. Now, if I get Clayton Kershaw, you have to give something up, correct?
Not as much as you probably think.
Okay, then I'm going to say what I'll give up, and you tell me I'm crazy. That's fine.
Okay.
But this is what I will give up. I will give you Jordan Westberg and Adley Rushman for Clayton Kershaw.
Looking at this text that you sent me, I mean that those two names are at the top of the list of the text that you sent me.
So you at least you know I'm consistent with my thoughts.
Yeah, because yeah, you've been thinking about it all season. Now,
Gary, not all season. For the last 4 years, I've wanted Clayton Kershaw.
ooh, okay. Oh, well, yeah, for the last four seasons, yeah, I get that.
And here and you said
Four
and you
seasons ago, though, John, it would have cost you a lot. It would have cost you a lot. Now, you know, he's not the same pitcher, which is not to say he's fallen off, but you know, I mean, you know, he's just getting older, and again, you know, his defense let him down on Sunday against the Brewers, but also remember they got him in the previous series when they were in Milwaukee. You know, I mean, Milwaukee's won 10 straight, including two sweeps of the Dodgers, and you know, and it included getting to Kershaw, who I still think is an effective pitcher. He's more of a control pitcher now as opposed to a power pitcher, and I think that's one thing that. This is what works against him if the defense isn't clicking. That if he's throwing more 85 to 90 as opposed to 90 to 100 like he was, that it changes it does change the game for for him. He's trying to master hitters a lot more than he did when he was overpowering them and painting painting the rubber and such. But again, I think you could probably give up Rashman, and I'd say maybe future considerations or something to get Kershaw.
I'm not willing. I'm not willing to give you anything out of my farm system for him. And I'll give you Westberg. I don't want to give you Westberg. I like Westberg, but I will play Urias every day then. Urias would be my everyday third baseman. Rashman,
Okay.
Adley
Hmm.
Rushman, he's still looked upon as a very good catcher. He is. He's having a
Yeah.
rough spot. He's having a rough time, but he is still an elite catcher.
Yeah.
Right now is the time you go ahead and you make the move to trade him, and you put Basayo back there, or you have the guy Jackson that got hurt, or Maverick Hanley, and then that way Basayo can learn. But that's what I would do. That's what I would do. Oh, I'll throw in somebody for you. You know who I'll throw in there?
Yeah. I'm looking at this list. Go ahead.
Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, he's on you. Yeah, he's on your list. I mean, John, you are consistent. I can't argue. I can't argue
And
with
Garrett,
any of them, but I'm very leery. I'm very leery about Atlee Rushman because I like him. I really do like him. You know,
Garrett, I like him too.
yeah. It's just again him, Gunnar Henderson, and let's see, Jackson Holiday are guys that I feel like could be the core. Oh, and of course, Cedric Mullins. Those four guys could be the core of the next contending Orioles team. It's just I don't want to see. I don't want them to become so desperate that they get rid of two really potential. Well, you have two all stars on the team already, but you know four potential all stars from that. And in that division, I really do believe they can contend in that division because I still am not sold on the Yankees as the dominant team. And of course, we know. I mean, Toronto is up by 4 games in the division anyway, and nobody saw that. And that's a team that from the middle of last year, I think to now has slowly been building. And how they've been building through their farm system, through a couple of good trades, and sticking with guys that were there during those lean years. And that's why maybe that's a blueprint for the Orioles because, John, we always talk about the Oriole way.
Yeah, and I agree. The other thing you have to look at, Gary, when you're looking at Adley Rushman and you're looking at Jordan Westburg and you're looking at Jackson Holiday and you're looking at Gunnar Henderson, they are top pick. Well, Westburg was not. Take Westburg out. But Westburg is going to end up having an expiring contract. Can you, in this market, that the Orioles in a small market, can you afford to pay all four of them? If you don't pay them, you need to get something for them. And at the same time, you need to get something that you can use. A left-handed pitcher. Think about this, Gary. Trevor Rogers is starting to find his way. He comes back next year as a strong left-hander. You get
Mm-hmm.
Clayton Kershaw, another strong left-hander. Then you have Kyle Bradish coming back next year, a strong right-hander. Hopefully, knock on wood, we get Grayson Rodriguez back next year as a strong right-hander. That's 4 quality pitchers, and you can put Dean Kramer where he belongs as a 4th or 5th starter. Right now, you have Dean Kramer as your number 2 starter. I mean, you don't have any choice because your whole pitching core is decimated. But you can be able to put people where they belong.
Okay.
That's just
John,
my
like you said.
thoughts.
All right. Well, let's move to and quickly because we still have a lot more to discuss. But looking at the second half, John, division leaders. Okay, you've got I mentioned Milwaukee and the Chicago Cubs duking it out in the NL Central. You've got the Detroit Tigers on top of the AL Central, which nobody saw coming. Toronto atop the East, the AL East. Houston atop the AL West. No surprise there, but again, it's a different lineup. Out of that whole group, John, and I even throw the Dodgers in there from the NL West. Who do you like? Who do you think is really the team you've got to watch in the second half?
Well, right now, in the National League side, the Cubs and the Brewers are playing the best ball. Cubs are, I think, 1 game out of first place, and they're the top wild card. But I got to go with tradition, Gary. When you get to 162, I think it's going to be Dodgers and Phillies in the National League. I don't say Padres because the Padres always come up with Dodger flu. They can never beat the Dodgers. So I think that's a problem. On the American League side, Toronto's playing well, but I don't think they will play well in the playoffs. Matter of fact, I'm still not a believer they'll make it the rest of the way through this season like this.
Mm.
I think Tampa is really strong. I really like Tampa. The best team right now, the best two teams right now in the American League, in my opinion, are the Detroit Tigers and the Houston Astros. I had the pleasure the other night of watching the Detroit Tigers with Tarek Skubal on the mound, and they are just a very very good team. They had lost 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, and they were still in first place and still got the best record in the American League. I
Hmm.
think they're very dangerous. I think Houston has found their way again. Last year they were having what some other teams have this year, where they got off to a bad start. This year they've been very consistent. They do need another pitcher to go with. What's the guy's name? Firmer Valdez. They need
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
they need another pitcher to go with him. I like what they have around him as far as everyday players. And when you take from that group, then I'm looking at it, the Dodgers again, and I'm thinking Dodgers going against the Tigers.
All right. I've got it written down. What else is going on?
Man, the other thing that we have going on right now, man, and we're gonna get more into it next month, but these doggone Commanders, man, everybody's excited about the Commanders. I don't get me wrong, Washington Commander fans. I think they had a great season last year. But think about this. I want you to think about this. The Commanders could be better this year and have a worse record.
I agree. I agree.
And also, what's happening to them right now is the penalty you pay for success. Now you have Terry McLaurin wants more money. Not saying he shouldn't get it. Didn't come to camp today though. So now you're looking at a potential holdout. So now you got to figure that out. All those things mess with your chemistry. A coach doesn't want to deal with all that. Every player deserves to get their money. Don't get me wrong, Gary. I'm not saying that this guy should not get paid. He deserves it. But no coach wants to see his players hold out, and you're trying to get over everything to get ready for the regular season. You got the New York Giants, you got the Philadelphia Eagles, you got the Dallas Cowboys. And plus, you got one of the hardest schedules this year. And on top of that, because you have one of the marquee players in the NFL, you play a lot more 4 o'clock games. You play a lot more Monday night games. You play a lot more Thursday night games. You go overseas, I think, this year.
Hmm.
That's the penalty you pay for success. Everybody wants to see you. When the New England
Hmm.
Patriots were on top of things with the B&B guys, Belichick and Brady, everybody wanted to see them. They played on Monday nights. They played on Thursdays. They opened the NFL season. They played on Thanksgiving. They played in the Super Bowl. Everybody wanted to see them. This is what's happening to the Commanders right now. How do they deal with it? They just picked up a rushing outside rusher. What's my man's name? I never can remember that guy's name. Played for the Buffalo Bills and he played for the Rams when they won the Super Bowl. No, played for the Denver Broncos when they won the Super Bowl. Von Miller. Von Miller. That's it. They just
Oh,
picked up Von. They just picked up
what? I
Von
missed
Miller.
that one. I missed
Yeah,
that one.
they picked up Von Miller.
Hmm.
And the question that I have is, Von Miller is one of the best, but Von Miller was one of the best in his early 30s and late 20s. He's 36 now. The other guy, what's his name? Bobby, other outside rusher. He used to be with the 49ers for a while. I can't even think of Bobby something. Anyway, he's
Yeah.
in his late 30s. He's in his late 30s. So you are, in one sense, it looks like you're improving your rushing game, pass rushing game, but at the same time, you're going with somebody whose best years may be behind him. Not saying he can't still have a few more, but his most dominant years are behind him.
I think in both cases, John, you're looking less at what they can contribute athletically than what they can contribute leadership wise, and really building a lot, teaching the younger guys on defense, and especially up front, showing them where to go, pointing out where they need to be, the kind of technique they have to play, and plug holes. I mean, it's their influence that that you're looking at this point. And I always think about I don't know. I can't remember whether he was at that same age when they won their last Super Bowl, but Wilbur Marshall, I always think about what he brought to that team. I mean, he was still an effective player, but
Yeah.
the way that those guys fed off of him and what he brought, just that kind of intensity on that defense. That's the kind of thing, and you know, even to a different extent, when Bruce Smith was there, you know, and everybody says Bruce Smith was record chasing, maybe he was, but there was something about his influence on that line that you could see his effect, you could see how he rubbed off, and you don't have to play either one of those guys a lot of downs. I think you try to have them in there maybe first and second down and say, okay, this is how we try to make them try to set up a third and long. This is how we put them in negative territory. That's the main thing. You're not looking at them to make the big stop. You might be looking at them to be again that glue. You know, we talk about glue guys in basketball, but yeah. I mean, you're talking about 11 men on offense and defense, and you definitely need glue guys. And Von Miller, I still think, I think there's still something in the tank with that. So
I I want you to be right. I want to be wrong. I just want the Washington Commander fans to look at this year. It's not going to be like it was last year. You got a few more bumps in the road.
yeah, the key right now in terms of training camp is getting McLaurin signed before it gets to a week or longer, because I do think that, if you're talking about the first few days of training camp when everybody's just getting in there, and I know this from experience, holdouts don't become an issue until you get, okay, we're in mid-July. If you get to the end of July, beginning of August, and they're still not in camp, then that's a concern, because now you have to think about, how do we replace this guy until he gets there? I'm not worried about how Terry McLaurin will come into camp if he signs, and all indications are that he's going to sign. I think it's just a matter of finding that middle ground salary wise that will get him into camp. But I'm confident about it. But I think coaches and teams are always prepared for the start of camp and just say, okay, while we're trying to get loosened up and get guys just used to a routine or something, we're not going to worry about it. But the closer you get to the preseason games, and if a guy's not there, you do have to start thinking about building depth. And if McLaurin comes back, then boom, you've got your main guy. You hopefully you have that depth behind him, because what do we know about training camp, John, and preseason? It's not about the starters. It's about I would say the other 30 roster spots, because those first 22 seem to be set, unless they're not. So that's about it. I'm going to say this about the Ravens, and we'll move on to golf. But with the Ravens, the only thing I'm looking for at this training camp is, how does this team bounce back from two playoff losses, from two winnable games in the playoffs, and try to get to that next step. I think with Henry and Jackson, firmly together in that backfield, I think you've got you've got a good nucleus, you got a good duo to start with. This team, it's more upstairs that I'm worried about than physical and skill, because it's a mental thing now with them. When you when you face a Buffalo, a team that I feel like they're more, like they're equally yoked with, and you lose a playoff game like that, it starts to make you wonder, is that window closing? I do think this is a breakthrough year for them. This has to be a breakthrough year, because you don't want to get to a point where now you're squandering Lamar Jackson's best years, and he is in his best years.
Gary, you said a mouthful with that. We're going to see how the Ravens do, and we got all next month to look at them, because they are a very interesting dichotomy. How do you like that word? But
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
now I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned golf before, and I trust your judgment on this and many other things as well. How good is Scotty Scheffler?
I think he's in a groove right now that reminds you of one Tiger Woods. I really had to think about that. Like his consistency, especially in majors. And I think, let's see, what was the notes that I made with him? It's like, okay, he just won the British Open, he won the PGA, he was fourth in the Masters and seventh in the US Open, tied for seventh in the US Open. He leads the FedEx Cup points. He's a lock for the Ryder Cup team, and that's who, when they get into match play and such, with the Ryder Cup, that's a guy that everybody's going to be looking at to lead the U.S. against Europe. But the way he's playing right now just reminds me of Tiger Woods, that there is no course too challenging for him. The U.S. Open is always the greatest challenge among the majors because the scores aren't low unless something really really weird happens. You're talking about probably more guys finishing over par in contention than under par. But again, he's one of those few guys that's been able to stay under par. And again, any given year, any year coming up now, I think he's a threat. The thing I'll always remember about Scotty Scheffler is at the PGA Championship here last year, after all the stuff, with the arrest before the second round, dude comes back from being booked to come out and shoot 7 under par after a rainstorm too. That's how good he is. But right now, I would say the kind of dominance, his dominance right now reminds me of Tiger Woods on from a historical standpoint, but in a more recent stretch, Rory McIlroy, who has also found his game. And he completed his career Grand Slam, and those two are really the best stories going in golf. But Scotty Scheffler, he's number one for a reason, and I think he's going to be number one for a while, just given the way he's playing, and he is unflappable. That's the main thing about him. He is unflappable and doesn't really get bogged down by a bogey on one hole, because then 2 or 3 birdies can follow for the next 2 or 3 holes or something, or he can turn a par into an eagle and then a string of birdies. That's just how good he is.
That's interesting, Gary. You said I'm making sure I don't quote you wrong. He is Tiger Woods-esque. Is that what you're saying right now?
Tiger Woods-esque, and I don't think that's a stretch, because he enters tournaments like Tiger Woods in his heyday, where you rate, well, you ask yourself, is it Tiger Woods versus the field? Who do you take, Tiger Woods or the field? I think you're at a point now, is it Scotty Scheffler or the field? And yes, there are some strong contenders like Bryson DeChambeau. I mentioned Rory McIlroy. There's another one that I'm forgetting, a European golfer. But I just look at it as every tournament Scotty comes into, he is considered a favorite. Now that we're past the majors and we're getting into, like say, some of the other money making events, to finish up the season. He's got 1,000-point lead on Rory McIlroy and it's probably more than that, at least 1,000 points in the FedEx Cup standings. And he's pretty much a lock as the world's number one, probably gonna take that. But what I really look for him now is how will he play in a Ryder Cup? How will a U.S. team, depending on who they pick for that team, compete in a Ryder Cup? Because that's where Europe really does flex its muscles when when you're talking about match play and such. Again, I think because Scotty Scheffler has been so good in big events that this is one, the Ryder Cup, that he will rise to the challenge again, and maybe he can rub off.
Cool. Gary, go ahead and take us home, man.
All right, folks, there's a whole lot of sports to watch. We've got the second half of the WNBA season. I watched an entertaining, even if it was a blowout, for the most part, All-Star game. John, at some point we'll talk about the status of the WNBA, but I'll say, yeah, watch the WNBA. Let's see whether my girl Nafisa Collier can really be the MVP and lead the Minnesota Lynx to the title. We have to watch Caitlin Clark to see if she can come back from injury. And for what it's worth, John, let's watch Angel Reese and see if she can continue her string of double doubles and say whatever about me bounds, but most of those me bounds are defensive. You can't say she's missing layups and putting back her own shots. And yes, Chicago's got a long way to go, but I think she's proving herself as the draft choice that you build around.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching us again. Another great week in sports. As Gary said, watch the WNBA, watch some soccer. My goodness, please watch some baseball and pray for my Orioles. But above all else, just watch some sports. Come back and see us. Take care.